phenomenal conditions here.
It is chaos and carnage on the Hawaii Dock.
This is fantastic sailing.
And Team New Zealand are in a magnificent position. What a thriller it has been. Gun, 5-minute entry, race 5 Louis Vuitton Cup final.
Full speed here, guys.
Around the bow of race control, Oracle skippered by Chris Dixon. Coming in from the port or pin end of the line.
I don't think he'll cross, but
No, he won't.
he is
Alinghi.
fast. Just
Easy
punches
as you can,
on.
Bob. Get good trim.
Skippered by Russell Coutts. And immediately we can hear the conversation of Chris Dixon being reassured by his helmsman, Peter Holmberg, that Alinghi won't cross. That's what happened the other day. As Alinghi goes for the dial-up. Got through once, but not again.
Peter, wind direction 185, 11 knots. The course is set up at 180. The start line is set up to be square to 185. It is exactly equal on each end of the line right now.
Start at 10.
Looking up the course, it's very different from yesterday. A little more steady everywhere, but I still wonder if this right-hand side of the course is more powerful on average.
Yeah, still like
Coming
that.
up to 3.5 minutes to the start. Both boats still held in the dial-up. Real skill here, Ian. Not only from the helmsman and in combination with their trimmers, who are unsung heroes in this maneuver.
Well, this is a little bit like balancing on one foot on a railing up in the air somewhere between two buildings, and somebody always falls off first.
Talk to Ballard. I don't know if he wants it, Ballard.
Backing, I said, guys, we're backing.
Tell Ballard what
There
you
we go,
want.
both boats going on to port tack.
You hear Chris Dixon talking to battler Robbie Naismith. He's one of the trimmers. We can see Mike Sanderson, the main sheet trimmer for Oracle. So it's both bowed down now.
And Oracle will accelerate away a little bit quicker and easier than Alinghi, just because of their proximity and the slight little difference in the timing of how they turned out of that. But Alinghi quickly turning down to try and block any escape that Oracle might do to the right. Very close to being too close to get a jibe off for Oracle.
Both boats on port. Brad Butterworth reassuring, saying Oracle has given away jibing for the reasons that Ed's talked about. 2 minutes 10.
Holmberg says you still like the right.
Yes, big committee vote bias.
Big committee boat bias, Chris Dixon says here.
Now that could be a little trick that the instruments on board are playing on them. I don't see that from here.
I'm going to be able to get the boat for you. Which end's favored?
So they've gone past race control. They're now diving among the spectators. They're way out to the right of the box.
And Oracle just on the ropes enough. Watch how this works. They made Alinghi choose which side of that boat to go on, and they used it to get back to the line. Alinghi will jibe, Oracle will tack and come and try to push.
So Alinghi's jibed in front of them.
Thank you. Full speed.
Alinghi will stay very deep for a little bit here, and then turn up when they're at a pretty strong position to get to the line with about 15 seconds to go.
Yep, happy with that.
Reaching a little bit.
They don't want to wait too late, or they'll risk having Oracle go over the top of them.
Be fine too, but
Okay.
105. 1 minute. Alinghi a long way down to leeward, both boats on port, coming back into the box. It's Oracle out to the left to windward.
Here comes Alinghi. It's about the right time. They've still got about 15 seconds to kill, maybe 20, but they don't want to be late. Early is better than late. You can always kill a little bit of time. You can't add some.
Come on, yeah.
We call this, we say Oracle is pushing. They're trying to push Alinghi towards the line.
30 seconds.
See Coots spinning the wheel, trying to slow down a little, but also lock in Oracle behind them.
20 seconds.
Brad says they're 5 early.
Brad Butterworth reassures Russell Coots is locked in at 10 seconds. So Alinghi is powering down the line. They're coming up to the pin end of the line. Meanwhile, Oracle has tacked across onto port, and really they've lost momentum there. And Alinghi has got that start. They're on starboard. They are braking left. They've got power on. Now, Oracle.
See how close this
Has
is?
broken right.
See how close this is right here? That's a mistake, I think, by Oracle. They tacked just a little bit too early to get away from Alinghi and ended up not being able to build to their maximum speed easily. Advantage Alinghi off the line.
So they had to pinch up around the mark there.
Coming nicely.
But remember, Oracle does have the power of the right when they come back.
He's up.
The advantage to Alinghi.
And Holmberg didn't want to hear that. Chris saying he's up, Alinghi's up. Right now, if Oracle were to tack, they'd lose another 10 or 12 meters, and they'd be 1 boat length behind. Here comes Oracle.
Here comes Oracle coming back to tack. Right, we're coming up to the first cross pretty quickly. Now, remember, Oracle will lose some distance in this tack, but they do have the power of the right. They are on starboard. It is Alinghi that must keep clear. Can Alinghi cross? Is Alinghi far enough to advance, or will they tack safe fluid? Oracle to the right, Alinghi to the left. First cross race 5.
Sailing.
Can Alinghi get across? They're on port, they must keep clear.
Watch the horizon right here. They're crossing easily, it looks like, as the horizon goes from right to left. That tells me that the range is changing quickly and Alinghi is crossing. Let's see what they choose to do with it.
Now, will Alinghi tack right in front, or will they advance across and then tack? They've crossed. Alinghi is in front. Alinghi by half a boat length, nearly a boat length of the first cross.
Just going left to the top, Peter. Keep the speed.
Meanwhile, Alinghi has decided to hold on to port. They've not tacked and covered and sat on top. And Oracle is braking left, still on starboard.
Okay, and we're going to be just BMG again, but I think that 2 or 3 tenths quick is a good number.
The reason Alinghi chose to go straight, if they tacked, they were going to force Oracle to go to the right. If they didn't tack, Oracle goes to the left. Alinghi must believe that the right is going to be better in just a few minutes or shortly here. So that's why they chose that side. It was their option.
And a moment ago, we heard Chris Dixon saying, got some separation happening here, and he was not exaggerating. 950 meters up the first speed. This is just extraordinary, and if we look at the advantage line, there is nothing in it. Less than half a boat length when they're a kilometre apart. The breeze at the moment is slightly in the right, and that may just favour Alinghi depending on what happens.
Cross wind 189.
Ernesto Bertorelli.
Going forward on it.
Pressure here.
That was an interesting comment there, Glenn. Brad Butterworth saying the wind's going forward on them.
Yeah.
That would show as a bit of a knock. That's not what the team on Alinghi would be wanting. They want the breeze to come aft on them to give them a lift. So, is it going to filter down towards Oracle, giving them a chance to come back?
The breeze at presently is around 192. We hear from off of North Star. That's the maximum, right? It's been all day. Now, in theory, that should be really playing into Alinghi's hands, but they are bow to bow. It's just swinging backwards and forwards slightly.
Breeze line is on the shoreline now. Yeah, it's here, but it's sailed over the main.
That's Cameron Dunn.
And what he's indicating, or what he's telling Peter Holmberg, is that he thinks they're making a gain. The leeward boat. Looking down the forestay. down through the rig.
So Alinghi on starboard tack out on the right-hand side of the course with an enormous separation close to 1 kilometre apart. The boat's presently bow to bow. It's not going to take much of a wind shift either way for one of these boats to establish a large lead.
Not out of the question to get there, you know.
Long port, you said, yeah? Yeah, just went up a bit.
Peter Holmberg continuing to steer Oracle. It's been close throughout this first beat, but now they're approaching the first mark. They've had this wide separation of out to 1 kilometre, and now they converge. And Ed and Peter, you'll have a much better idea of who's in front now.
Well, we reckon Oracle is, because we saw Alinghi tack down to leeward, conceding that Oracle would have crossed.
Right, Alinghi tacked early to give themselves an option for another shift. They would never have put themselves there if Oracle wasn't ahead. So there you go,
Oracle,
2 boat lengths.
Oracle is leading by 2 boat lengths.
It's all working for Oracle right now. They've just been lifted a little bit more, and they're going to easily lay the weather mark. Alinghi's going to have to tack twice to get around, and Alinghi's going to be by 5 or 6 lengths behind by the time
Oracle
they
are
round.
continuing to extend nearly 4 boat lengths out.
So we should actually be going the other way reasonably early on, shouldn't we? Fair way, and then, or lead them, because if we match, it'll be a loss.
No more.
And here comes Alinghi in the background, who have gone on to starboard. Now this is a revelation. It's 14 knots of wind at 196, smooth water.
Ready, guys? Smooth.
And Oracle is absolutely reveling in this. Race 5, Mark 1, Louis Vuitton Cup 2003.
Ready? And hoist.
And that's the hoist call on board Oracle, as Matt Smith's voice reverberates around Oracle. After an average start when they were behind, Oracle lead Alinghi at the end of the first beat to windward by 28 seconds. Nice hoist from Alinghi, but it needs to be, because it was a super hoist from Oracle, who are playing on confidence.
Let's drive, yeah, let's drive.
Ready? Transfer.
So there's Peter Holmberg suggesting to Chris Dixon, get ready to jibe, why not lead him?
Watch behind you. Wait, behind you. Okay, good.
So this is fascinating, and Alinghi are jibing and following. So that is interesting, that Oracle, instead of waiting for the trailing boat to call the shot, they're calling it. Why, Ed Baird?
Oracle looked back and realized there was a little bit better breeze on the opposite jibe behind them. They wanted to get across there first rather than waiting for Alinghi to jump across first and risking being in bad air down to leeward of Alinghi. So good move by Oracle, and of course Alinghi, it doesn't want to lose more, so they're going to stay close doing the same thing until they see an opportunity to make a gain later.
On the downwind leg, Oracle now in a mode that they need to defend their lead, keep their wind clear from Alinghi, and of course Alinghi and the afterguard trying to put the turbulent wind down. And as the gusts of wind fill in coming off the East Coast bays, Alinghi will get the advantage of just being able to ride that down onto Oracle, and we'd expect them to make some small gains.
So long the other way, we'd match from here, wouldn't we? There's no panic.
It's a match, huh?
He's thinking about it.
Stand by.
Nice and easy.
Transfer.
Both boats going into a jibe.
He's committed.
Chris Dixon saying they're committed. That's saying that they are not doing a dummy jibe. Alinghi, a good jibe. Oracle matching. Jennica through long before the mainsail comes across, and that's a big change in the way these teams have been jibing the boats in this regatta. And when the mainsail is so late in coming through, the running backstay, which is that wire we can see through the center of the screen there, effectively holds the mast up.
Settle your angles down. Sail our boat, Peter.
Chris Dixon just marshalling the troops.
It's going to get a little bit lighter this way, eh?
So Alinghi unable to make any inroads. A while ago they were down to about 130 meters, but Oracle back out around the top mark. It was around 155 meters, and Murray Jones up the top of the rig communicating with Jochen Schumann, Brad Butterworth.
Depending on the ship.
A little bit headed.
It's a little header.
It's pressure as well.
That's the man of the moment, Chris Dixon. And my word, is he sailing on confidence today.
Alinghi going through the jibe. On a Oracle. Oracle to the left. Alinghi to the right.
Now, interesting, Peter, for us now, we're reading a wind direction about 176, 177, which is quite a bit left of what we saw up the first beat. I wonder if it's geographic or if it's just a long general shift back and forth, because the breeze has been as far right as 192.
Yeah.
But this is maximum left right now. From here, that looks like Chris Dixon looking at the binoculars, and he is looking left.
Down to help shoot.
Leading by 150 meters.
Okay. For what?
So that distance has stayed very constant on this downwind leg.
We're getting information from Alan Guire from the middle of the course that where his boat is placed, that he thinks it's going left. So that also ties in with
Push
what
a little bit more, Matty.
certainly we can hear coming off of Oracle. Now,
Yeah, I like
Peter
that.
Holmberg saying I'm going to push it a little more Matty, meaning Matt Smith in the pit. So what he was suggesting to Matt before we hear that 1, 2, 3 go, the voice of Matt Smith in the pit calling the drop, that he wanted to push it, getting a little bit closer.
Yep, go ahead, Matty.
Go ahead, main, that's the mainsail. So he's talking to Mike Sanderson to bring the mainsail in now.
Now, guys.
Nice, calm, reassuring instructions from Peter Holmberg. So this is mark number 2. Down comes the asymmetrical spinnaker on Alinghi. At 20 seconds and count. Alinghi trailed by 28 seconds at Mark 1. Here they trail by 27 seconds. So a gain of 1 second to Alinghi on leg number 2, as now they go into the third leg of the race or the second beat. The wind here at the leeward mark is 13.4 from 179. The course was set for 180. So now both the boats are hardened on the breeze.
And Peter, for all the sailors watching out there, you're probably realizing how quiet and calm it is on board both boats. And that's because they both have a plan. They know what they're trying to accomplish. Shortly, it's most likely what's going to happen is Alinghi's going to tack away. When that happens, it's most likely that Oracle's going to tack and cover. Here they go.
Here's Alinghi. So, how much quicker will Oracle tack? Surely they'll go any time. Here they are.
Oracle waits until Alinghi is committed to the full turn. Then they tack to come with them. Alinghi will probably look for a little shift. It's not a panic to tack back. They'll look for a little shift, try to get back into the game half a length at a time. Both teams talked about what they wanted before they came into that mark. And that's for those amateur sailors that are watching out there and are wondering why it's so quiet and calm on board. It's because there's already a plan going into the mark. There's no sudden decision making that requires a bunch of people talking at once.
Alinghi tacking once again, back on the attack. Oracle tacking to cover immediately, not prepared to give Alinghi any leeway at all. Oracle protecting the left-hand side. Alinghi forced to tack away straight away, clear their air. Oracle squeezing into attack to cover. Breeze is in the left at the moment, around 183 degrees. So Oracle will continue to protect the left-hand side as long as it stays in that direction.
What do you like? He's going again?
Alinghi wanting to just bring the action back towards the centre of the course a little bit more. And of course, Oracle wanting to push the boats more out towards the starboard ley line. Now we're into attacking Jewel. Now the distance between the boats is just shrinking up a little bit. So right now, this tactic by Alinghi is being successful. They're down to 75 metres. At one stage, we're out to 120 metres. So, as we'd expect, Alinghi throwing the challenge at Oracle. Can Oracle defend their lead?
I think you should take that here already.
It's all right at the
I would
moment.
prefer to go now already.
Let's take it now.
The afterguard on Alinghi.
Let's go, Russell.
I will take that already.
They believe they're headed or knocked. So that's why they're squeezing into the tack now. And they are really starting to make inroads on Oracle now. This game is closing up dramatically. And that's a function of smart ship sailing by Alinghi, sailing good wind ships. But they are just eroding Oracle's lead at a ferocious pace.
Each time the trailing boat sails behind the leading boat, the trailing boat does have a bit of the opportunity to get a bit of a lift just by the wind, the way the wind bends around the leading boat. And as you pass their wake line or their transom, you get the trailing boat will get a lift generated off the sails of the leading boat. So some of the small gains that Alinghi are getting will be the lift generated by sailing behind the leading boat.
Alinghi continuing to close the game up as Oracle on the left tacks onto port to cover once again. It's down to basically one boat length, and it's not far off the stage where Alinghi will almost be able to block Oracle from crossing. They're not quite there yet.
Decision time for Oracle. They have broken off the tacking Jewel, taken the starboard advantage, going over to the right, protecting themselves for the top mark. But Alinghi making big gains. There was only just over boat length advantage when the boats crossed. And now we've got Oracle just breaking off the Jewel. There we can see 35 metres. Remember, that's from bow to bow of the boats. So very little in it, but we've got Oracle just extending out to the right-hand side, making it a little more difficult for Alinghi to sail right round the outside of them. But as we saw on the first windward beat, if the wind goes left, Alinghi will be right with them.
Here we go.
Oracle have put in a tactical block as they approach the final third of the second windward beat. Alinghi have shown
About 3 lengths away.
good tactical choice and good speed.
Around that one.
Very close to it.
Maybe tacking in 2.
171.
Yeah, tacking.
Well, that's indicating there just a very small advantage to Alinghi in the leeward position, and they're tacking. They've lost a little bit of distance in the tack, but we're going to see the boats very, very close together as they approach this cross.
So both boats approaching. This will be one of the most important crosses in the entire race as they approach the top mark. Looks almost like Oracle may have picked up a bit of right-hand breeze. Ed,
Yes.
you're right on their tails watching this fantastic race. What's your pick? Who's going to lead on this cross?
Well, I think I, like the guys on board Alinghi, was surprised to see Oracle spend so much effort herding Alinghi out to the right-hand side and then just cross them at this point in the race. But Alinghi still has to just take what they're given.
Here comes the cross. Oracle on starboard. Alinghi on port must keep clear or give way.
Oracle has to defend by attacking here.
So Oracle on starboard, cross. They're in front. But it's nothing like the 113 meters that they had at the bottom mark. And Oracle trying to tack right on top.
Get ready, onboard umpires. Oracle tried to lock Alinghi in like Alinghi did to them the other day, but it didn't work for them. Alinghi knows better than to get trapped down in there unless they're willing to follow in from this far behind. What you have to remember is that Alinghi has made a nice gain compared to where they were at the leeward mark. They don't need to get greedy and still go for it all right now. They just need to be close at this mark to attack downwind.
So Oracle will tack. They are doing so right now. They will come back on starboard. As they're getting very close to the top mark.
It's a difficult position for Oracle. Once Alinghi tacks on the ley line, Oracle has to get a tack off on that ley line without fouling Alinghi. And right now, just watching right in real time, right here, Alinghi's making it. They've got a little puff. They're making a little move forward. Something that Oracle doesn't have. Look how close it is. 5 meters between the boats.
Oracle to the left. They're going to come right up by the mark. Tack, try and do all the housework and get the set. That's going to be a big ask of the crew to go through that mover and get the hoist. In contrast, we will be able to see Alinghi get back up on the runway, build up speed. Here comes...
Watch, here's what's happening. Oracle's put their bow down to take away the distance between Alinghi and Oracle so that Oracle has a little more room to do their maneuver at this mark. Look how they're aiming down at Alinghi right there. Well, Oracle's on the left-hand side, so Alinghi's got to wait for Oracle to tack now. Good move by Oracle.
Stand by.
He's calling his outside.
Turn it now.
So Chris Dixon calling the shot. So they're actually conceding distance. If they'd held their course, they'd have been up to the mark, but both boats now in sync. A lovely offensive, defensive move by Oracle to still hold the lead here at the halfway mark. Race 5, Louis Vuitton Cup final. The hoist from Oracle.
Longboard, anything, guys?
We actually like the other way. We'd like to beat him to the jibe. So
And the Louis Vuitton clock clicks off at 10 seconds. A gain of 17 to Alinghi.
Oh, and some interesting things right there. Oracle wants to jibe right away, but as we said, Oracle doesn't have the pace around that mark that Alinghi does. So Alinghi may be able to cut them off if they try to turn. Too close. Alinghi has pinned Oracle. Oracle does not have the right of way to turn and jibe.
Here we go. Turning now. Ready?
They're trying.
Go, Maine.
Oracle's turning.
There goes Alinghi.
Go, Bob. Like a mother, Bob. Go, Bob. Go, Bob. Nice. Now ease, Bob.
Up your count of 5. Up a couple.
Get ready,
Right
umpires.
on the air of Oracle.
It's close. Get ready, umpires. This is going to be another action back front.
Easy with it, Peter. Gonna go past them.
Remember the other day when the boats reached up as they are now.
Gotta accelerate it.
Lured boat on the bottom of the screen trying to keep their air clear. When they reached up, Alinghi was clearly faster than Oracle on the tight angles. Let's see if that happens again. Decision time on board Alinghi. Coots and Butterworth have to decide, are we able to roll these guys from here, or do we change our plan and try to attack them in a different way?
I see less breeze in there.
Oracle has done a nice job of hanging in there since the jibe. They have certainly lost nothing. They might have actually gained a little separation.
He took a puff down, but he's slower again now. So you can come up the speed if you want. But just
getting close
just
though.
puff down and speed lighter up.
It's lefty, yeah. So lefty you would continue, right?
See all the boats behind these guys in the background, blocking a little bit of the wind. There's some puffs on the water.
Two key trimmers there, Robbie Naismith to the left, trimming the Jenica. That the main sheet trimmer is Mike Sanderson.
Even pressure.
What's the ley line for 485 or 185 or even higher?
Still Oracle doing a lovely job still, around 40 meters, or a boat length and a half in front.
All right, getting out near the edge of the course as well. PJ, you can see there the lay line on the left-hand side. If they reach that point, Oracle can just simply jibe away and sail down to the leeward mark and be ahead.
Okay.
Well, I just don't want to get rolled and get weak, though. That's the problem. We're going to get rolled and weak. I'm feeling worse and worse here.
Disturbed air coming off Alinghi towards Oracle now. Holmberg feels it. Peter, if Oracle jibes away, they will maintain that starboard tack advantage next time. Look at the distance closing down. Alinghi starting to affect Oracle here.
Almost there behind, eh? What do you think about heating up to his tail for better air? And then we just lead him the other way, huh? The last thing we want is for him to roll us and get slow.
Are you behind?
Yeah.
So you
ready for heat?
So a heat up for speed build and then down again.
Here we go, a little heat up.
They're going to heat up. Here it comes from Oracle. They're starting to heat it up.
The first thing that will happen here is the separation between the boats will reduce, but the speed of Oracle will come up slowly.
Majority might be behind. He's on the Jenica, I think. He's on the Jenica, but the main's clear area. So look for ease in the main, perhaps.
Wow, Dixon thinks they have clear air aft.
Any puff calls, please? Anybody?
That would be a big, that would be a surprising thing to me, looking at the geometry between the boats. I think Oracle's sailing right up into a bit of a trap here into bad air.
Any overlap? What is it? Still overlapped.
So Alinghi's got the lead.
Boats are still overlapped. Alinghi has to stay clear. It's the windward boat.
Keep going fast here, guys.
Oh, it's very close, though.
I will, man.
What's it called?
That overlap is being broken, it looks like.
Okay. Release, release.
I've got Alinghi clear ahead right there, Peter.
Stay on that left-hand
There it
quarterway.
is. Clear ahead and disturbing the airflow in light conditions, lighter than it was the other day when they did this.
So don't need to force the issue.
But
3 minutes this way.
there is, well, they still say 3 minutes this way. That's a fair amount of distance, so the wind must have shifted a little bit to make it still some room on this jibe.
Don't let him just turn into a jibe and roll out of there, Peter.
Don't worry.
Do we need to
Oh, here we
back,
go.
or?
Close situations again.
Transfer.
Clearly no overlap there. There they go.
Go, guys. You need a good one. Come on.
So now the roles are reversed.
Bow up, Peter. Up you come, Peter.
There's Oracle in the windward position.
Oh, Alinghi just has their air clear. Do they have the speed to hang in here? Dixon wants Holmberg to come up.
So take the bow down and ease with the pump. Down and ease with the pump.
This is a difficult position for Alinghi unless they can just keep their air clear forward. There it is. They're just forward of the disturbed airflow.
Look for the ease back.
Both boats reaching up hard. This is not their normal downwind angle. See the heel that they have on. The sails are trimmed in. The boats are probably going 2 knots faster than optimal speed downwind. I've got Alinghi gaining.
Don't squash them now, you never will.
If you don't squash them now, you never will.
It's a little quicker than now.
He's on the quick attack now.
Wind up left and go and get the hole on the hit side.
Oh, it's getting close again, though, Peter. Look at this.
What are the times? Peter, well, we got to come out in front of them here if we can.
Dead even since they jibed at 30 meters down to 28, but that's nothing in this context. just clear air forward for Alinghi. They look good at the moment. Boy, it's close though.
East or on?
Yes, we are.
Alinghi looks more comfortable with every moment here.
Yes.
Look, they've gained 15 meters since the last time we looked.
Can we slowly come down? Let's slowly come down and VMG it from here, please.
All right, Oracle's going to concede that they're not going to be able to handle the reaching up mode. They're going to go back to VMG and see if they can gain it from there.
What do you want?
VMG means
Easing down.
Chris Dixon frustrated, obviously, as you always are when you get rolled by your competitor.
VMG angles everything.
Alinghi have just muscled their way into the lead, executing a pass which are so difficult to do. The boat showed perhaps a little bit more horsepower, a little bit more muscle, a bit more stability when they were sailing those bow-up angles to keep their air clear, and they managed to just wriggle free of Oracle.
Oracle jibing back onto starboard. Alinghi has jibed onto port on the lay line, which will take them into mark number 4.
Looks like Dean Phipps.
And you can see he's got a bit of macrame out there trying to get the retrieval line organized. There's a lot of line on these boats, and you have to keep them all straight.
Take up on the brace back there.
Oracle are up and running, pole up, they're out to the right.
And I just wonder what would have happened if Oracle hadn't done those 2 extra jibes. They may have had a piece of Alinghi right now.
So Alinghi going through the jibe. So as they're getting up to speed, Oracle are closing in, Oracle to the right.
Oh, and it's not pretty on Alinghi. They've got to fill the kite and get the jib up. The jib's twisted a bit. Kite's not full. Look how fast Oracle's coming.
Jib up, you gotta go. Can you get there?
This is definitely a game. There you see it, 5 meters now. Oracle gaining tremendously at this last little bit. They'll come around this mark in a very strong position.
Oracle have dropped a lot early. Oracle have dropped their chute earlier than Alinghi that held on.
They want to avoid getting too far overlapped so they can still tack out. Which side will Alinghi defend? Let's watch.
Gonna be checking with them here.
Okay, guys, get ready to take.
Richard Mark 4. Race 5 Louis Vuitton Cup final. Alinghi lead round the mark for the first time in this race, trailing by 10 seconds. At Mark 3, they now lead by 9 seconds going into the 3rd beat. Leg number 5, the second last of the race. And immediately around Oracle dummy. It's a dummy. It's a fake tack by Oracle, and Alinghi have sucked it. And they've broken the cover. Brilliant stuff by Oracle. So Oracle with a dummy tack have stayed on to starboard, and it is Alinghi that went on to port. So already Oracle are into clear air, and they haven't got Alinghi in their face as they would have had.
Not to go, but feeling good.
Well, Brad Butterworth said it as they rounded the mark. We're tacking with them, and there was no issue about trying to stay tack for tack with them.
Into the second last leg of the race, the early stages, and Alinghi is coming back to consolidate the small advantage they had of just 9 seconds or a boat length. As Oracle continues to break left, holding on to starboard, going out to the left-hand side of the course.
The breeze is in the right at the moment slightly. Would seem that Alinghi will be just in front. But it's going to be close enough. These boats are going to be in one heck of a battle right through to the finish.
See the bearing changing there as Oracle
Even header, so it's good
approaches Alinghi, but Alinghi making ground. She's going to be clear ahead.
Not a lot in it. And both these boats just looking for the slightest edge. Peter Holmberg down to leeward there steering. Now moving up to the windward wheel. get a better view. It's Alinghi coming across again. A slight gain to Alinghi, it would seem, as they squeeze into the tack once more. Oracle responding, squeezing into attack, clear their air.
Well, whoever leads around the mark, the other boat just has to be within 2 to 3 boat lengths to really light the fire. And it looks like that's going to happen. As Oracle now break right by going back onto port. Meanwhile, it is Alinghi who's coming across their face on starboard.
What's he doing, Fresh?
Peter, Alinghi's made a little gain here in the last 10 lengths of sailing. They've gained about a length. Suddenly some little pressure line or puff their way. Oracle's going to try to keep their air clear here. They had a real deep acceleration and they're turning up to try and keep clear, but it'll be, in the long run, very difficult for Oracle to keep their speed on the way in. Alinghi will lay the mark from here. They'll slow Oracle down.
He's staying high and slow, Pete.
So that comes down to the debate. Should they have put another hitch in? But that would have cost time, or do they just cop it here?
Set ourselves up.
Well, to Oracle's credit, they did a nice job of going well beyond the ley line, which is the standard move, and forcing, they were hoping that Alinghi would tack early, right when Alinghi could lay the mark, but Alinghi came all the way out to really put the hammer down on Oracle, and it's working for them.
There's an average of a 10-degree bias to the times are. That's enough runner off, Ernesto. That's enough.
12 on board, 8 on starboard. Mark 5, the final turn of race number 5 of the Louis Vuitton Cup final. And Alinghi lead going into the last leg of the race. Here comes the hoist. As Oracle round and they click off at 16 seconds. So it has been a gain of 7 seconds to Alinghi on that beat. Nice hoist by Alinghi. Now, finally, the hoist from Oracle. They are 1 boat length to...
Slightly better pressure above us.
2 and a bit. So can Oracle eat into that? Can they block the air? They're trying to get on the air of Alinghi and block.
He's slightly lower than you
To
now.
run and gun down Alinghi. Can they do it? The wind at 14.5 knots. Coming from 186.
1-0. 1-0.
It's a little left, just looking back.
This is a lift.
Would we jibe with him?
Will we jibe with them, says Brad Butterworth?
Can I just grab the end like that?
He's jibing.
Jibing. We're jibing.
He's jibing, meaning here comes Oracle with the jibe.
And Alinghi chooses to hold, Peter. Not a bad move as long as they don't go terribly far. I would expect to see that Alinghi jibe back here in about 3 to 5 boat lengths of sailing time. So somewhere around 20 seconds or 30 seconds from now. That would be far enough to keep their air clear, but they'll maintain that starboard advantage and they'll reduce or limit the separation between the boats so any shift won't hurt them too badly.
Well, by doing this, though, Oracle
Average here, 80.
lose the option of trying to get on the ear of Alinghi, who's speared off in a different direction.
Well, what Alinghi's doing here is they're protecting the long jibe. Remember, before they rounded, we heard that port jibe was about almost double the length of sailing time that starboard jibe was. So they're maintaining that side of the course, and they're keeping their starboard advantage. Now, here they go jibing back in the position that we talked about. Oracle, if they want to mix it up, they're going to have to come back at Alinghi and try to hit their air from here.
Nice puff to stay lower.
Because where they are right now, they're in a position that they're going to try and gain from a shift or a pop.
This is going to hit us, this puff, I think. But there's more breeze out to the right of us.
Oracle
We are slow, though, man.
Closing the game up. They've just taken 10 metres out of Alinghi by sailing this deep mode.
A little build here, a little build here.
There it is there, 65 metres by sailing. Slightly deeper, slightly slower. There's the finish line.
We have to be careful here. I
Yeah,
think
that's
we should almost
interesting.
jibe
We
here.
heard there Holmberg say he needed to go bower up, so he'd
what are
gone
the
so
times it
deep
is, though?
that he'd lost a lot of his speed.
We go straight, I think.
And here's
We
the
go
first
straight.
move. The jibe coming from Oracle.
Smooth jibe. Just before the jibe, we heard Holmberg saying we're too slow, and he got caught sailing just a little bit low. The apparent wind, it's the wind flying across the sail, just lightened off too much, and it's almost like the boat stalled a wee bit. And they very quickly lost half a boat length or so.
We believe we are free, we should follow him.
And the discussion on Alinghi now,
Once you
Yacht
got
and
two
Schumann.
breeze behind you, jibe.
Brad Butterworth calling the jibe. Just watch them as they execute this maneuver. Jenna Kashik getting whipped around. Nice jibe. Brad Butterworth pulling on the new runner. The main sheet just being pulled on a little bit to pop the battens. Put some load in the mainsail.
Got a little bit better pressure than Russell. You can sail low if you like.
Nice little
Even
gain there
pressure,
to
no
Oracle.
problem.
They jibed. I just wonder whether Oracle didn't just get a little bit trapped. They were sailing that low mode, that low angle, and they lost their apparent wind speed. They had to jibe perhaps earlier than what they had originally set up, allowing Alinghi to extend into an area of clear wind, clear pressure, and then Alinghi picking their time to jibe in a little gust of wind.
Pressure coming down the middle. It might even be some pressure
And
going
Murray
between
Jones talking about pressure and good pressure. So Ed, out on the water, what options are left for Oracle to try and close down the game against Alinghi?
Well, they're running quickly out of options. They need a puff or a shift, but it hasn't been that sort of a day for the last hour. I was surprised, actually, that after all the work the Oracle did to get low on the port jibe, that they jibed away first.
Okay, I mean, if it wasn't for him.
We don't want to come up. We're actually faster than him at this.
Okay.
So, you know, we're just a slightly better pressure.
Yeah, we'll just match his angle if you want.
And Brad Butterworth helping Russell Coots to understand the relative positioning so Coots can concentrate on
179's very
driving.
left,
You see just in front of Coots there at the top of the screen, the white dot in the water is the finish line, and to the left of it is the committee boat. That's where they're going.
Just missed some weed there. You might want to spank.
Spank the monkey.
I saw some come out the back, but
Spank the monkey. Where did they get that from? The two voices we're listening to here
quite like the breeze
Murray
that he's
Jones.
driving, quite like the breeze on our side.
We don't want to do two jobs. We're going to go
He's up
down
at the
here
second
and
spreader,
pick
and he's talking to Brad Butterworth.
one job.
It'll work out just fine for us. Yeah.
That's Murray Jones's voice.
And Peter, what they mean by spanking is just rubbing running the razor blade up and down on the keel and making sure there's no weed on there. They said they just went through some weed. Murray Jones could see that from up the rig. Keeps the bottom of the boat clean. Nothing slows a boat down like a little bit something wrapped around the keel or the rudder. Well, shortly we'll see Alinghi jibe and cross in front. There's certainly not any kind of shift that's big enough at the moment to get Oracle back in the game, and I'm sure they're wondering over on Oracle what could have been today.
Good pressure here. It's good on either job now.
Yeah, good. Yeah, but
Have a foul, yeah. Foul on the jet.
I think we can
No
drive, Russell.
problem.
Let's go.
Final jibe for Alinghi.
Night here.
Race 5 of the Louis Vuitton Cup final delivered different conditions a steady breeze and flat water. And it delivered a wonderful race. Oracle led for the first 3 marks. Alinghi lead where it counts and win race 5 to go to match point as they beat Oracle. It is Alinghi 4, Oracle 1, as Oracle are beaten by 13 seconds.
Here. It is chaos and carnage on the Hawaii. This is fantastic sailing.